Hello. Welcome to my office. It's pretty small, but seats a lot of people. Watch this. Did you hear anything? No. That's one of the weird things about being a conductor. I'm always the last one on, first one off, and the only person on stage that doesn't make a sound. Yet I have the giant responsibility of leading incredibly talented musicians in great works. How does one do that? A typical first conducting lesson would look like this. Okay, I want you to stand with your feet about shoulder width apart, toes even, left toe a little bit in front of the right, okay? Chin up, chest out, don't bend your knees, don't bounce, put your arms like this. A little bit like that, and you're like this. And the first thing the teacher goes is, move freely. Okay? Maybe you've experienced that, where someone's said, okay, do this and that and that, and do that and that and that. Now, go to it. Be creative. There are all kinds of conductors. Probably the most elementary of conductors would be what I call an outside-out conductor. What is an outside-out conductor? Well, we're going to use the second theme of the first movement of Tchaikovsky's last symphony, his Pathétique, as an example. And an example of an outside-out conductor is someone whose gestures are on the outside, and the music is also on the outside. So it's an outside-out experience with music. The players, their instruments, their bows are on the outside, and their music is outside of them. And sometimes this can just be an awful. And I had to convince the players that it was okay, in this instant only, to play like this. But here's the performance of an outside-out Tchaikovsky. I have to practice. I don't know how to do this very well. It's okay. You wouldn't write home about it. You weren't really touched. The next step might be an inside-out conductor or an inside-out artist or musician. So I take the music and I study it and I put it inside me, but what comes out after knowing it still is like I'm reading. Oh, I know it, but I can't show it. The next step would be an inside-in, so that the music is inside me. It's in my inner ear. It's now in my gesture, and it comes out. So it's an inside-in performance. That would sound like this. little better, isn't it? Yes. These are 8 musicians, wonderful colleagues and friends in the first violin section of the Pacific Symphony. So thank you, guys. Oh, there's more. The question is, have we made any music yet? What do you think? Is that music? It was pretty. Was it music? Did it convey something? Was there something innately present in what they did? How do you turn notes into music? I got a little exercise for you. I've got something in my pocket, and I'm going to ask you a question, and the only thing you can't say is the obvious. No obvious. For those of you that can't see, this is a 3-dimensional circular object which is well traveled, and sometime this year will be 2 years of age. In 25 seconds, what else is it? You said the obvious. Out. A choker of children. What else? Look hard. Think quick. An opportunity. A wish. What? Bravo. What else? Yes. All of these things, now all of a sudden, what was the obvious? A screwdriver. Very good. You're back in. A little 8th grade girl looked at me once and says, "It's silent and probably spends most of its life in the dark." Those are eyes which I want to be able to see through. Because it's this kind of thinking, this kind of exercise that turns notes into music, because we can't say the obvious. There are 3 eighth notes, then 4 more. We can't say that. That's too obvious. We have to look further. We have to explore, because the exploration is the joy. The journey is the experience. So let's go back to Tchaikovsky's melody. Tchaikovsky, he's a melodist, isn't he? I mean, he writes beautiful melodies. You can think of many of them. But let's think of this as a love song, where he's passionate and feels the elation of love realized. The joy, the happiness. It would sound like this. There you go. But maybe there are other ways of looking at it. 2 sides to this coin. How do we find the other clues? Where are they? Well, you got to know about Tchaikovsky. You got to know that since childhood he was a sensitive, fragile child that could take not a word of criticism, who was devastated when his mother died, who, when his struggles with his sexuality became topics of hot and hostile rumor in Moscow, that he consented to a marriage, which was tortuous, one of the most tormented times in his life. We have to know that just prior to writing this symphony, he had 2 dismal failures. One is an opera called Iolanthe, and the other is a little-known ballet called The Nutcracker. His confidence was shot. His relationship with his music was quite short. It was premiered October 28, 1893, November. 9 days later, November 6th, 3 a.m. in the morning, our beloved Tchaikovsky is dead. These were his final notes. We also have to look in the score. Why does he use con teneramente, tender, con espressione, con sordino, which means with mutes? Why does he use the word, the only time this word is used in all of his symphonies, incalzando? Any Italian speakers that tell you what incalzando means? To urge, to press, the imminent, searching. Maybe it's not a love song. Maybe it's love unrealized. Maybe it's Tchaikovsky's pining for something he never experienced. Maybe it's desire. Maybe it's anguish. Maybe it's actually fateful. That's where I've landed with this melody. And when I've landed there, then I'm an inside-in conductor, and it would sound like this. We've not only transformed this beautiful melody from an outside out to an inside in experience, which conveys depthful feeling, but we've in the same moment also captured the inspiration of what Tchaikovsky fed, the inspiration which fed Tchaikovsky these notes to write on the paper. This is a moment we rarely attain. How did this happen? How did that did I say anything? Did I say, okay, now, Mr. Kobler, you have to use more bow, or you have to use less bow, more vibrato, you have to sink deeper in the string, you have to put a fermato there, you have to put a portamento here. Did I say anything? Did you hear me say anything? Did I put him in a straitjacket the way that first conducting lesson put that conductor? How did it happen? It happened because I appealed to the highest sense of creative spirit in professionals. I didn't disrespect them by assuming that I could tell them how to do that. And as a matter of fact, did you notice that they were rarely with me? That I was always a little bit ahead? And that I never gave them a command like that to play a certain way? You know why? Because music will never enter our lives on a command, especially not a command from a human. And at the same time, if I would have gone like this to the players, they would have become immediately outside because they had to see me. And at that moment, I would have stripped them of being an inside-in player. I would have immediately attracted them to the outside. And their musicality, their sense of spirit, their sense of creativity would have been disturbed for that instant. And also, I would have forced the group to become eye-oriented, not ear-oriented. To a musician, the ears are the organ of the soul. So for me to change them to an eye-oriented group would have taken a piece of their soul away. What do I have, actually? What do I deal with? What influence do I have, really, when you think of it? It's very simple. Space. Space? The space in the middle is the music. It is our field of communication. The space that we share has energy flowing through it all the time in a circular fashion. I give a sign, they give me something back, feeds my next sign, so there's a cycle, a circular exchange of energy. In this space, the number one thing I have to establish is honesty. The second most important thing, which comes only if there's honesty, is trust. I trust these musicians implicitly. When you have honesty, which is followed by trust, then and only then do you even remotely have the possibility of attaining respect. And when you attain respect, you better remain humble. Because if you don't, everything becomes unraveled. And it takes that word honesty and changes it to dishonesty. In this same space, during these moments you've just experienced, we exchanged hundreds of thousands of thoughts and feelings, years and years of practice. We're reminded of why we followed our calling to become artists, to become musicians. And in that word calling, which I love, lies soft, gentle, yet ever persistent and ever present voices which help lead us on the path so that we can live to do the work we were intended to do, not work so we can live the way we want to live. I've realized that probably the most important things I will ever say in my life or ever hear in my life will be whispered. So the next time you hold a penny in your hand, or the fate or the future of an employee, a friend, a colleague, or when you have a difficult decision, become inside in as a person. Listen to those quiet voices and speak in honesty in whispers. Thank you very much.